Hello and welcome to Talking Royals. I'm Charlene White. And of course, as ever, I'm joined by these two, royal editor Chris Shipp and royal producer Lizzie Robinson. We'll be bringing you up to date with all the latest stories from the palace and beyond. Before we start, we have a big announcement. We are very, very lucky to have you here today, Chris.
That's really kind.
Because you're not very well, are you?
I could talk about my illness for a long period of time, but I'm sure it would bore everybody. What I actually want to talk about is I was here before the lights went on in the studio and we couldn't find you anywhere. So,
because I do have other jobs and I was here bang on time.
This should be the most important one in your diary for the day. So thanks for turning up.
You are very, very welcome.
Via the kitchen.
Via the kitchen. We've had snacks today in case anybody is wondering what we're talking about.
Yes.
Today was
Cake
snack
Thursday.
day.
Yes.
So I grabbed a slice of cake before I came in to join you two. And it's always a pleasure to see you both.
It is, isn't it?
Now, there was more than just like supermarket.
You made a big deal last week about us being late.
Yeah,
I'm just pointing out.
but I was on time.
We weren't letting that happen again, were we?
But I was on
We
time.
were trolled. We were properly trolled last week.
But I was on time though. I'll just keep repeating over and over again. But do you know what was on offer this week wasn't the supermarket goodies that we've had in the office here. There was a far more lavish affair at the diplomatic corps reception over at Buckingham Palace. It sounds very fancy. I hear that the royals go full bling at these events, but what exactly is it?
Big bling. It's a really important note in the diary. Again, we always talk about this, don't we? This is a really important moment in the royal calendar because there are so many of them throughout the year. But this one is all those diplomats, not just from the Foreign Office, but all the ambassadors, because they serve the court of St James.
Yeah.
And whenever the King or the late Queen used to appoint a new ambassador, they always do so at the court of St James. And this is the big diplomatic reception when all of those representatives from countries right across the world come and they get to see Mr King, Mrs Queen, normally William and Kate, but of course it was just William.
Why was Kate not there?
I should just say it's annual. There were about 900 guests there this year. It's normally a bit later than this. It's normally sort of first week of December, but there'll be a state visit, an incoming state visit happening this year in the first week of December. So it was shifted slightly to allow for both things to take place in the diary.
900 people had to make way for the one person coming on the state visit.
but both are important, so they had to cater for both. But yes,
very diplomatic.
Very
Lizzie.
diplomatic.
Yes. Did you see what I did there?
But you're right. The King, the Queen, and the Prince of Wales were there, but no Princess of Wales. We know that she is making a gradual return to public duties, and her focus is very much on the 6th of December, which will be her annual carol concert that she's recording, that will air on ITV on Christmas Eve. But those eagle-eyed viewers of the court circular noticed that the Princess of Wales did hold a meeting on the 19th of November, which was the same day as the
I bet it wasn't a meeting with 900 people.
No, it was a meeting at Windsor Castle on her early years work. So this shows kind of that gradual return. She did the meeting, but decided not to do the reception.
So I've got a question about the reception, actually, because I know that the Queen, it's like when I say full bling, they're in tiaras and everything.
Yep, she was in the aquamarine and diamond tiara that belonged to the late Queen.
But she wore something by Fiona Clare, I believe.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
What is the something? Was it a dress?
An evening dress, yes.
Yes. You didn't quite finish the Googling before we went to air, did you? But the tiara...
Clare is one of her favourite designers.
OK. Well done. Well done. It's amazing what a bit of quick research.
Quick Google will do as we sit down.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
What I've noticed is she wears a lot of jewellery that used to belong to the late Queen, so it's sort of hand-me-downs. Will the Queen ever have sort of big blingy jewellery made just for her? Or do we just live in a different time now where that's just not going to happen? She'll just always wear hand-me-downs.
That's such a good question. I've no idea what the answer is.
Brilliant.
I mean, I think the collection is vast, isn't it?
Yeah.
So there is a lot to pick from.
You've got that to choose from. Well, it's like, I'm going to have my coronation, but I want a new crown.
Yeah, but it sort of feels a bit like, when you're like the second and third child and you just live on your older siblings' hand-me-downs. Yeah. Sometimes you just want something new that's just
want a new
yours.
tiara.
A new coloured and diamond, please.
Yeah. I don't see what, I would understand if she wanted to wear something new rather than always wearing something that belonged to her mother-in-law.
Yeah, good point. I mean, yes, jewellery is not my strong point. I mean, there's always a brooch. Every time we get some bit of information from the palace, there's always some information about a brooch. I've no idea what the significance is, but I'm told there is some.
Okay.
There.
Well, next time you speak to her, find out where she sits.
Where she sits
in the hand-me-down discussion.
This might be the wrong podcast for me.
I think it's a nice link, though, to the late Queen.
Yeah. But what's your thoughts on her having something new, some new bling?
Well, I mean, there is a lot of it to pick from. So I think,
it's a lot of hand-me-downs for a second child to live through, but sometimes they just want their own stuff.
Yeah, well, And actually, I suppose we do. We always talk about the crown that belonged to, or the crown that the Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, wore for her coronation in 1937 or whatever.
Yeah.
So when are we going to say in the future? Not me, because I'll be dead. But when are people in the future going to say that was a crown that was once worn by the late Queen Camilla?
Yeah, you want royals in the future to wear something that also references her. I think that's quite important. I think.
Yeah. Thing is, they've been around for a long time, so they've got quite a bit of it. But of course, all the when we were doing about the coronation and all the items only date back to Charles II, because Oliver Cromwell came along and melted everything beforehand when just after he chopped off the head of Charles I. So. Yeah, there was a definite end point there.
It would be very lavish, though, wouldn't it, to start, having new...
Yeah, wrong time.
Wrong time, and also we have they are very pro-sustainability, so,
Yeah, but they also have several palaces, so you can sort of say, well, we want to appear as normal as possible, but you also have a load of palaces and you're a king and a queen, so roll with it.
Yeah, yes, this is true, actually. And then we'll go on to talk about William's homelessness project later. Yeah. And, he is someone who does have an office at Kensington Palace and a house in Windsor and another house at Anmer Hall in Norfolk and most of the Duchy of Cornwall, which has been a not uncontroversial subject in recent weeks.
Yeah. So. Sometimes, you just got to go all in. But someone that didn't mince their words when it came to their feelings about meeting the king came from a sector of, the acting world that I didn't really expect it from, Paul Mescal.
Yes, so Paul, who anyone doesn't know, is the new Russell Crowe. Would that be right?
Yes, that's correct. He's in Gladiator
Mr. Gladiator. I actually watched Gladiator 1 the other day, The Gladiator. Yeah. I must admit, I've seen bits of it, but I don't think I've actually ever sat down and watched the entire thing. Have you?
Yeah. At the time.
There was bits of it, and I thought, I haven't seen this bit, but then I had seen that, and that. So maybe I've just caught bits of the film over time, and it is quite a long one.
It is. Maybe you fell asleep for bits of it.
It's a lot for me to cope with, a lot of information to process. Anyway, where were we? So Paul Mescal is new Russell Crowe, and there was a premiere last week. I think we told you about it last week. Now, a clip that's kind of done the rounds on social media is one of Paul being asked about whether or not he was pleased to meet the king. Now, bit of background here, Paul isn't from Britain, not from the UK.
No.
He's from the Republic of Ireland, where I think it would be fair to say not everyone's a huge fan of the royals. Should we have a listen to him?
Yeah, go on.
What was it like meeting the king? Had you met him before?
Never met the king. I mean,
how wild is that?
How wild is it? I mean, it's definitely not something that I thought was in the bingo cards. I'm Irish, so it's not kind of on the list of priorities, but it's an amazing thing for Ridley because I know how important that is for him. So to see his film celebrated in that context was pretty special.
What do you say to the king?
He just kind of nod along and. I found it hard to hear exactly what I was saying because your head is in such a kind of friend, so you're just kind of nodding along and just smiling.
Very diplomatic, the theme of the podcast. I think he answered that very diplomatically.
I mean, it wasn't in my bingo card, which is quite good. But also, me and Lizzie say this all the time. Whenever you ask anyone, what was it like to meet the King or the Queen or the Prince of Wales, they always say, they were so normal. They're really down to earth.
Down to earth.
They really put me at ease. Every single person says it. It was actually really refreshing to hear someone say, not really a priority for me, I'm Irish, not on my bingo cards. And actually, I think Ridley Scott was really pleased to meet him. But
he handled it really well.
Not so well.
He did.
Yeah, and I think you're right. So many people say the same thing when they meet them.
Yeah, to say, actually, not that fussed. I'm from Ireland, where clearly, the British history in Ireland is not a very glamorous one. And, and a lot of that stuff and a lot of the... the blood was spilled in the name of the crown. So you can see why he might not be such a big fan.
I think the hopeful thing is that also through him making these comments, perhaps there's a whole different generation of consumers or listeners, viewers, who will look back at that time to sort of figure out what's behind what it was that Paul said.
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, we could go off on a bit of a tangent here, but we've been a few times with the then Prince of Wales and Camilla, as she was Duchess of Cornwall then, and they always make a trip to Northern Ireland and to the Republic of Ireland, where they're always very well received, I have to say. And do you remember that very, very famous trip that the late Queen made when she went to the Republic of Ireland? And that was a big step in again, we're talking about diplomacy here with a small d. That was a big moment when she went to Dublin and spoke in Irish as well. So. Yeah, I mean, it's a controversial and very complex subject.
It is.
But we've been to the island of Ireland with a number of royals, and as with many things, the views on them are very divided. Yes, indeed they are. But I think one subject which doesn't divide people is William's crusade to end homelessness. And he was in Newport, was it this week?
Yeah, Newport this week. And he was meeting organisations who were discussing preventing women's homelessness in Newport. And, we know that this is one of the big issues for Prince William. He's got these 6 locations around the UK where he wants to show that it is possible to end homelessness within 5 years, an incredibly ambitious project. But as he said in a documentary recently, if I've got this position, I'm here to try and make some kind of difference. And if, I'm going to give myself the biggest challenges possible, and I think he really has with this one. But it is, something that he cares deeply about and has for a very long time.
Yeah, and he spoke to a few people whilst he was down there.
He did, yeah, including Rebecca. Rebecca's story: she was in foster care from 10. She was then in a homeless hostel at 16. She lost her father and former partner within a short period, and then she attempted to take her own life. But she is now a working mother of 2, and she really wants to help others. And I think Prince William was talking about how she is a force of nature, how the world needs more Rebeccas out there. And we spoke to her afterwards, and this is what she said.
There's someone who has never really gone through the trauma like that to come here and still accept us. It's accepting. A lot of people are not accepted because of their trauma and their history. Publicly, obviously, the trauma with his mum and stuff like that as well has made him a bit more human. And I felt like he was human when I was talking to him. Like, he wasn't just someone in the royalty. He was a man that was interested in what I had to say as a person, and it made a difference.
He really is. He really is.
She was clearly listening to the podcast a few years ago, wasn't she? But no, to be fair, that's not to denigrate what she said at all. But actually, I think people do get a little bit nervous before they meet members of the royal family. And then when they find that you can have just quite a normal conversation with them, because, yes, they are human, shock horror, then, yes, that's often the response that you get.
And he also spoke to Sabrina as well.
Yeah, Sabrina is...
Very impressive.
Incredibly impressive.
She actually runs a fire service at the moment, but she herself was formerly homeless and in Newport, where Prince William was. And she featured very, very heavily, if anyone saw the ITV documentary on homelessness recently, she featured very heavily in it. She's a very, very impressive character. I think he's very lucky to have her on board, Sabrina Cohen-Hatton, and this is what she told us.
I don't think you can underestimate the convening power that the Prince brings to this. And it's really important to be able to shine a light on people's experience of homelessness. And one thing that I've seen with him is a real commitment to understanding the human impact of this. This isn't just the strategic outlook. This isn't just the fix for the problem. This is how it's impacting on people and how we can improve those life experiences for individuals that are doing it today.
Just actually picking up on something Sabrina said there, William, while he was in Newport, talked about wanting to be a disruptor and for people to perhaps think differently about the issue of homelessness and think outside the box in terms of how it can be prevented. And I think, he is keen not to maybe do things in the same way that they've been done in the past and try and look at new ways to make a a real difference.
Yeah, which he seems to be working quite tirelessly, really, on
It's
this.
kind of what he spoke about when he was in South Africa, when he wants to do royal with a small r and do it differently. And in other words, instead of being a patron of a homeless charity and turning up at fundraisers or something, he is committed to doing things differently. We don't quite know how yet, but I suppose the documentary gave us a bit of an insight into that he's willing to sort of take part in these things and bring all these people together. I thought it was very interesting actually to focus on female homelessness. You never really hear that as a subject. What is specific about the causes which mean that many women end up on the streets or without a home? And I thought that was, that in itself is quite an achievement.
Now, in terms of overall bringing people together and doing things differently, Harry's been doing that with the Invictus Games for quite some time, hasn't he? And
I'm not sure we're going to bring the brothers together.
No, that's a diplomacy
challenge
with a big D and a little d that I don't think either of us can get sorted. But he got a tattoo or something?
Well, we were just discussing before we were recording, was it a tattoo or was it a fake tattoo? Because clearly you can have both on his neck. There is a sort of quite a famous Invictus tattoo, which is the sort of I am, which is part of the the Invictus brand. And he made a video with an artist,
Jelly Roll,
who is a very, very big country performer in the US. Jelly Roll has agreed to perform at it's the first winter Invictus Games, isn't it? So that's happening in Whistler in Canada in a few months' time. So he signed this guy up, and then he made what I thought was it felt like the Harry of old, didn't it? Like having a bit of fun.
Oh.
It reminded me of that one he did with the late Queen, with Michelle Obama, with the mic drop.
Yes.
And it kind of felt a bit like that Harry was.
But I'm going to stick my neck out here and say, there is no way that's a real tattoo. I know you were like, well, maybe it is. No.
Well, I would like to think that it is, because I like the idea of a royal with a tattoo. Like, what's wrong with that?
Well, he did speak about having it on his word beginning with A at the bottom, at the bottom of your back. But in the end, they did this tattoo or fake tattoo on his neck. Maybe Meghan gave him permission to have a tattoo while he was away. Should we watch? Well, if you're listening to this podcast, I don't know what you'll make of this next clip, but if you're watching it, it will make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Take a look around. Can we get you anything?
No, I'm all right. Is he going to be here anytime soon?
Oh, yeah, he should be here very promptly. I hear he's always on time.
This is where people get tattooed, right?
It is. It's the tattoo chair and the tattoo station. And you know what?
Hey, tattoos. Speaking of,
hey,
man, so good to meet you. I'm such a fan, dude. Do you know I could not believe it when they called me and told me Prince Harry wanted to get a tattoo today, and he wanted me to give him his first tattoo?
No.
It's just the coolest thing.
Why are you wearing a glove?
We're giving you a tattoo about the Invictus Games. Right?
No, I came here to ask you to do the Invictus Games. There's no tattoo in this. I can't get a tattoo.
I'll play the Invictus Games. You just let me give you your first tattoo.
You give me a tattoo, and then you come and play the Invictus Games.
That easy of a deal.
All right, screw it. Let's go. Let's do it. Where do you want it?
We got to go for the neck.
The neck?
Yes.
No, I was thinking like my lower back or my
No, nobody wants to see your Harry.
No, that's the place where no one's going to see it.
This is for the world. I'm thinking like, here, let me just show you. Let me just...
Wait, have you done this before?
Well, you practically, pretty much. Trust me, man. You wouldn't want nobody else doing this but me.
A small one, yeah.
Like a baby getting its first haircut. Just
okay. Yeah, I should have had it on my Okay. That feels big, man.
Commitment, Prince.
Ah! Whoa.
This is why they love you. This is gonna be huge, man. I'm telling you.
What's that?
It's awesome, right?
Dude, it's enormous.
Invictus Games are enormous.
What does that say at the bottom?
The bottom.
Is that your name? Does that say Jelly Roll?
No.
You put your name on my neck?
You know what? I gotta go.
Wait,
Thank you for your time. I'll see you in Vancouver,
Are you
Prince.
serious?
I'll be there. Appreciate you.
So what?
I really like that.
Now you've seen it, real tattoo or not?
Not a real tattoo, but I'd like to think of him as having stayed in the tattoo parlour and got it done somewhere else.
Right.
I think he's cool enough to have that. I reckon he'd be fine.
Yeah.
And I reckon Meghan would also be fine with him.
And where would you think he would have had it?
Okay, next thing.
Swiftly. swiftly moving on.
We'll move on
Yeah.
to...
Camilla, the Queen, was presented with an honorary doctorate by her sister-in-law this week.
Was an honorary doctorate at the University of London, and this is all for the work that she has done around literacy and literature.
So Princess Royal is the Chancellor of the University of London, and she was given an honorary doctorate
Which year?
to her sister-in-law since 1971.
81.
Okay.
Now,
if
if anyone's wondering why we're doing this, we've just decided that we're actually going to do a Talking Royals themed Christmas quiz before the end of the year.
And one of the questions in it is going to be, how much did the coronation cost according to the DCMS, the Department of Culture, Media and Sport, who put those figures out today?
72 million.
Correct. 72 point what, though? I can read my writing.
72 million.
Yeah, but it was.
There we go,
There we
72.
are.
So that's if anyone's listening, that's why. No, this is just us.
Who do we think is going to win this quiz?
Look, I can't be biased, but I would say that somebody whose name doesn't end in "ip" is probably going to
Thank you. I'll
win
pay
hands
you.
down. Anyway, back to Princess Anne.
Back to Princess Anne. Well, actually, back to Camilla, because actually it's actually quite unusual to announce this in the way that they did, but they put out a public message on their social media channels this week to say that she's had one of her beloved dogs. We also talked about Beth and Bluebell, her two dogs. They're Battersea rescues. Of course, she's patron of Battersea. It means a lot to her. And she got a lot of sympathy, a lot of love for having to say goodbye to Beth.
Yeah, Beth. She homed Beth in 2011 when she was just a 3-month-old puppy, and Beth had an untreatable tumour and had to be put down at the weekend. And the dogs, Beth and Bluebell, mean an awful lot to the Queen. We've seen them on engagements.
They've been in
fact,
documentaries.
We can take a look actually at Beth helping the Queen to do a plaque unveiling
this is good,
with
isn't it?
Queen Camilla. I think they used a sausage to help encourage.
I was put that
Beth.
in the quiz. Which type of?
Can we stop preempting what I am going to put in the quiz? Because obviously I'll be writing the questions and you'll be answering.
So which type of doggy treat was hidden in the cord when Beth pulled this curtain?
I mean, the dogs mean so much to the Queen that in her coronation dress, she had them both stitched in at the bottom.
I do remember that. So this is going to hit her hard, and she hasn't been that well of late. So
she's had
quite a lot
chest
for her to take.
infection.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think anyone that's had a pet knows how much they become part of the family. And I think the Queen, will be heartbroken.
As an owner of a Battersea rescue, I can only feel her, feel her pain. So
you had to throw that in. All right, Chris. And that's where we're going to end. Thank you both very much, as always. You can hear us talking Royals every week by subscribing wherever you get your podcasts. We will, of course, have a Royal Christmas-themed one in the next couple of weeks. So make sure you do keep an eye out for that. But you can also take a look through our back catalogue because we've got a whole load of royal topics for you. So we shall see you next week.